We are back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us. Professor Thomas Schwartz is with us from Vanderbilt University. We're talking about the aftermath of the impeachment proceedings, which have concluded. President impeached, but not removed yesterday by the Senate. And so now we move forward. Where do we go from here? Harvey waited through the commercial break. So the next caller will be Harvey. We'll touch bases with him. Good morning, Harvey.
Yes, good morning.
What's on your mind?
I'd like to ask a question about the all time talking about, or the Bidens and everything else and all that's wrong for him to question the Biden. Don't the American people think that they should know something about why that Biden was there while he was in office and everything as a high political people? And don't you think it should be investigated where the American money went while they were there? And then my second question is, why is people that's older people on Social Security still having to pay for for their Medicare out of their Social Security check instead of the other people? They don't pay anything. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Well, as far as, and I paid attention, I know a lot of it was vetted, and a lot of what was being alleged turned out to be not true with regard to the Bidens. There were some questions there. Right. What was your take on the way that played out and whether or not it was thoroughly investigated? Because I'm not sure he was clear on exactly how much was done.
Well, there's no question of that the optics of Joe Biden's son being put on as a consultant to a Ukrainian company that wants to have influence, that the optics of that are terrible.
Yep. I agree.
And
that was dumb.
It was dumb.
It was dumb and it was greedy. And Joe Biden should have said, "Son, sorry, no." Not a good idea.
And, for human reasons, he may not have, Hunter Biden's had a very troubled life, and he may not have wanted to deal with that. But the optics were bad, and Biden himself, of course, made a statement about how he got a prosecutor in the Ukraine fired, I think for legitimate reasons, but he did make it quite clear that he had taken action there. I think it's been investigated. Obviously, I think the Hunter Biden thing, you could still make the case that this was, the vice president should have realized this was a conflict of interest and the rest. But I don't think it was really necessary. The sort of things that Trump was asking for in the phone call, particularly the notion that Ukraine really interfered with the election, not Russia, and all that, they go into the realm of really conspiracy theories that don't seem to have much behind them.
Right, exactly. So the answer, I think, Harvey, would be, yeah, sure, you can look into that, but there was much more going on beyond it. It wasn't just that, Harvey. Let's go next to Hank. Hank, good morning. Hi, Hank.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, guest, don't you think that the quicker they get back to paper ballots, the more honest the election going to be? Look at that first thing. That's saying something to us that we better go back to paper ballots instead of trying to use these electronics and get a fast vote. When we go overseas and set up votes over there for those countries and other countries, we don't carry machines over to do them. We do them with paper ballots.
Hank, we were talking about that during the break, and what he was referring to was what I believe was the debacle with the Iowa caucuses, which really turned out to be an embarrassment for the Democratic Party, in my opinion. But, I don't know. Are we going to go back to, are some paper ballots still used in some areas?
Well, see, the irony is, of course, that there is a paper ballot in Iowa. That was not the problem. The problem was the manner in which they were both tabulated and then reported.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. But the computerized aspect of it, we all go back to the hanging chads.
The hanging chads thing, which was its own debacle in its own way. Yeah.
But I mean, do you think that different municipalities have different machines?
Right.
Metro's gone through its share of different ones here. I mean, I don't see us eliminating, the electronic aspect of this. In a lot of ways, it makes it easier for people. I do think it's real important to make sure that the integrity of it and security is good, because can you imagine someone hacking in and just changing the voting tabulations? Right. Oh my gosh.
Right. And that is one of the fears about what the Democrats did with this app is that it was not a very secure app, and that it could have been tampered with.
Yeah, that kind of stuff has to be looked at closer, in my opinion. So, I'm with you on that. Whether or not we go that direction, I'm not sure. As far as Biden was concerned, he. I guess I was thinking Biden coming out of what we were talking about with Ukraine and all this, but with the caucuses, just going to that, I don't know. a lot of people are saying because of the attention, especially for some of these senators during the impeachment thing, that hurt them because they were so busy at the impeachment proceedings. I wonder with results out of the Iowa caucuses, let's see, I think they came out, Bernie Sanders finished second, Buttigieg
It's
finished
almost a tie right now. It's Sanders and Buttigieg are so close that it's not, they haven't, they're at 97%, and Buttigieg has a very, very narrow lead on the combination of the first and second choices. And it's not, they can't call it yet.
Okay, so, and the significance of that, I mean, you always think about the caucuses in Iowa, it's supposed to give you momentum going to New Hampshire, right? Is that it? Well, I think that's pretty much toast. I mean, and a good thing for Biden, who finished, I think, dead last. I mean, he at least doesn't have to worry about such a momentum swing because they messed everything up.
He doesn't, but he is in trouble in New Hampshire, and Buttigieg has gotten some degree of momentum out of it. Sanders is still ahead. The Boston Globe released a poll today that had Sanders ahead, and then Buttigieg climbing. Biden is holding on, I think, to a precarious second, or maybe even third, and Warren also close bunched in there. So it's a New Hampshire will be interesting because, of course, those results will come out right away.
Okay, and I just wonder, against this entire backdrop with this, Bloomberg. All right, Michael Bloomberg, you know, has been spending a fortune because I see the ads in Tennessee where, you know, I mean, you could make the argument if you're a Democrat running for president, don't waste any money in this state because you know how heavily Republican it is. But I mean, there are a lot of ads. So if they're running that many ads for him in this state, can you imagine across the country? So explain to me this, how it's working out for Michael Bloomberg in terms of, I mean, he wasn't in the caucuses, I guess, and because he hasn't got, at what point does he infuse himself into all this, be it the debates, or will he be on the ballot in New Hampshire? How does that work?
No, he won't be. He is playing the game for Super Tuesday on March 3rd. Where Tennessee does have a primary. We got the early voting materials this past week. They're going to be starting now. He's on the ballot here. He's hoping that the early primaries, Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina, don't produce a clear frontrunner, so that he has the chance on Super Tuesday in all these other states to accumulate a lot of delegates and sort of insert himself as a frontrunner. He also, because the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, changed the rules, he should be able to be on the debate stage after the New Hampshire debate this week. He'll be on the debate stage with the rest of the candidates.
Has there been any indication that you've seen in terms of how he's doing at this point? Where does he fall in? You were talking about how they finished in Iowa, but where are his polling numbers?
He is starting to poll double digits.
I think so.
He has shown a degree of support now. It's not overwhelming yet, but it certainly has climbed from the beginning. So his whole theory, the theory of his candidacy, is that Biden is going to collapse and that the Democrats will be looking for a moderate alternative. He's positioning himself as that alternative, and he would have to, in a way, sort of force out Buttigieg and Klobuchar, which probably he might be able to do. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, he is a very bright man, I think. And I think they put a lot of thought into this. He clearly has the money. And I think one selling point for a lot of Americans, regardless of your party, is you're not taking any special interest money.
That was Donald Trump, in a way, this idea that he was so rich he didn't need the special interest.
People like that because then they realize you're not beholden. And he's doing this. But it's real interesting to me to see how he's building. And it won't surprise me at all if, as things get closer, that it turns out that he becomes one of the front runners or the front runner for the Democratic Party. I think it's all part of his strategy. Has there been any polling that you've seen among those that are in the race right now that would have the best shot, they think, at challenging the president?
There are, of course, there's these contests where they put them up against the president. And to this point, still Joe Biden is one of the strongest candidates, as is Sanders, in these national polls. Bernie Sanders, a lot of the candidates do beat Trump in these popular vote national polls. I think the real question in some of that is whether these candidates could also win the Electoral College, whether they'd be strong in those Midwestern states that flip to Trump, whether they could do that. And that's still, that we haven't gotten to that point yet.
And as far as the president's concerned, you'll hear him say, you know, whoever gets to the top of the heap, he starts attacking them.
That's right.
It's like you said, he was going after Biden back with Ukraine. I mean, he'll probably turn his attention elsewhere as he sees whoever comes out of these new leads here.
Oh, absolutely. Now he's been tweeting more about Crazy Bernie or Mayor Pete. And he's come up with these nicknames for all of them, Mini Mike for Bloomberg. So he will start. You'll see in his approach where he sees the Democrats going.
All right. Well, listen, we'll take a break. When we come back, we can take a few more phone calls. Just curious from you whether or not you think this impeachment, I guess, process helped or hurt either the Democrats or the Republicans? And again, depending on your point of view, you may have a take on that. I'm trying to be impartial and see on this, and frankly, I'm not sure. You would think an impeachment obviously would hurt a president, but I'm not sure it necessarily did. We'll take a break, and we'll be back in our final segment with the good professor right after this.